So, before starting the podcast, let me introduce Abhijit sir. He is India's biggest executive coach. He is India's biggest visioning coach. He is India's biggest successful entrepreneurs. And more on that, my mentor, Mr. Abhijit Pradhan, on the show. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thanks, Jay. And you promised you wouldn't call me sir.
Okay, so okay.
Abhijit is, the correct address. So, thanks for having me on your podcast. But let me also clarify the introduction. I'm not biggest anything. I'm one of many, many good people who do a lot of good work. And I'm just passionate about what I do. Yeah. So let's maybe, use that as an intro if that's okay with you.
Okay, sure. So, on today's theme, that is career crossroad. So, the basic thing which comes in our mind when we talk about career crossroad is like when I start pursuing my career. So, after some time, there is some dilemma that I'm also passionate about some other thing as well. So, what should I pursue as my profession? So, how can one clarify those thoughts?
Okay. So, I think I've been a coach for like 11 years. I was in the corporate world for about 16 years before that. And the reason why I became a coach is because I found that there were a lot of gaps in people understanding themselves and applying themselves, whether it's in a job or even before. So I think the biggest gap in education is self-education. And I'll explain what I mean by that. It is truly understanding yourself. And it's not something that people can teach you about. You have to learn about yourself. Okay. So you talked about dilemma, right? It starts with awareness. Okay. It's awareness of what matters to you. What are your strengths? What are your challenges? Putting it all together and then figuring out what it is that you'd like to do in life, why you want to do that in life. Okay. Once you clarify all those things, and that's what I mean by self-education, you can then go about that journey of, what it is that you want to kind of, use that education or that career for, because I think that's very important.
Correct.
And that's missing in most people's journeys. Okay. So that's the first step.
Okay, great. And as you said that you have been in this corporate world for 11 years. So why do you think that the people generally tend to follow the rat race of becoming an engineer or becoming a doctor? And those who think slightly ahead of that, those who know that they what they want to become, and they are generally mocked when they are in school days or when they are entering in college. So why do people go for the rat race?
So, okay. Another clarification, 16 years of corporate life. After that, I've been a coach for 11 years. So you can just add that, and please do not calculate my age. All right. See, you can't blame individuals for following what you're defining as the rat race. Why? Because see, there's a system, right? There's a system which is society. There's a system which is what is called professional excellence or standards and all of that. And beyond a point, it does not pay to let's call it rock the boat, of this system. Because most people figure that if I follow the system, you do well in life, and there's nothing wrong in that. All right. So what you're calling rat race is benchmarks which are already there. It's like, we are from a society which obviously applauds, oh, you're an engineer, oh, you're a doctor. That's been there for a long time, right? So if you're not that, then you have to prove why you've taken that decision and why it's better than, following the herd. So it's really about following the herd. Okay. So now the point is, does following the herd work for you or it doesn't? And I think to me, that is that self-education I was talking about. See, sometimes being a doctor, being an engineer could work for you and you get excited about it and you contribute and you're very happy. So there's nothing wrong in that. So what you're calling rat race is, if you follow the rat race unconsciously without realizing that you could have a choice, then probably there is an issue. But if you follow it, knowing very well why you're following it, then I think you're far, better poised in that journey. So I don't know if I've answered that question, but that's the reason why I think a lot of people follow the herd.
Correct. And also, when we are talking about no, self-education, many people tend to send their students in coaching classes for JEE and other entrance exam when they are in even 8th standard or ninth standard. So why? What is? And many people, when I ask them that, what is your aim? So they are like, "Socha jayega. Let's go with the flow." And many people become too ambitious that from very small age that I want to follow and go for this career. And many people just think that what is the correct age. They just stay in that dilemma for very long time and they lose their chance. So what is the, according to you, what is the correct age of getting that intuition or thinking that I want to become this or I want to pursue this in my life?
So we start kind of shaping who we are, okay, scientifically from the age of 7. Okay, that's when we start putting all the programs that we kind of are exposed to from our parents, from teachers, etc. And that's what starts forming, let's call it, our personality. Okay, so it's that time when things are getting inputted. Now the point is that unfortunately the system does not, like I said, also have a formal process of self-education. Okay, by that I mean that people need to also understand who they are. Okay, and your question was how early? I would say as early as that. All right, ideally, because when I know who I am, okay, and what my, let's say, inclinations are, I can start, let's put it this way, channelizing those energies early rather than waiting for 20, 25, 30 years for me to realize, oh my God, that's what I actually wanted to do. And unfortunately, it becomes a post-mortem rather than a pre-mortem or whatever. You're getting the point? So it's an unfortunate thing, but it all depends on the support system that you have. If you have parents who think that way, if you have teachers or an educational system which thinks that way, which is very rare, by the way, right? Then you're lucky that you start this self-education journey way early. And it is important to start it early.
Wow. And so for making this system, for including the self-education in the system, what changes do you think we should bring?
So it needs to start at the education, at the education board level, right? So it's like this. Forget about the school, even colleges, even postgraduate, and then you start working. It's only much later that people start realizing that they've missed out on knowing who they really are. Okay, and like I said, some people make it, and a lot, unfortunately, realize they've kind of taken the wrong turns, etc., and then start course correcting, and if they ever do. So it needs to start at a systemic level, okay, and but I would say it needs to start at home. So because that's your first ecosystem that you're exposed to. So at least if your parents are aware that okay, the school system is like this, the career system and the success system is like that, but let me prepare my children in a certain path which allows them to be themselves, at the same time be successful in the world. See, this is not about you being some hermit and you just focusing on yourself and not being relevant to what the world is about. You have to operate on both levels, individual and how that individual fits into the world. So I think the first source is your parents. Okay, after that, if you're lucky, you may have some teachers within the system who might actually kind of help you on that journey.
Correct. 100%. So at what age did you started thinking about your career?
So everything in my life, career, everything has all been post. It's all been an analysis of I could have, etc., etc. But the good part is I somehow followed my passion and my intuition. So while there were all these influences that said to be successful you should do that, my father is an IIT engineer, so I've come from that let's call it a benchmark already there. And I
Yeah.
followed a very different career path, which was initially advertising, which, may not have been seen as the most, let's say, challenging or whatever, but it
Okay.
kind of challenged me because it kind of made me feel that I am, leveraging my creativity and thinking in a way that I would like it to be. And that's what I chose at that time. I was not sure of it, but I followed my heart, to be very honest. Okay. Now, would I have done the same thing today? Maybe, maybe not. But at least for me, I have no regrets about my journey.
Uh, and many people, as you said, you are following your passion. Many people confuse themselves for defining that this is my passion, this is my hobby, and this is where I should start my profession. So how could one differentiate between them?
So, okay, I think that's a very good question. So, I believe everything in life you need to, I'm calling it triangulate. Okay, what does that mean? It means that you must have at least three sources of data or information or input in your life. Okay, so source one is yourself. What do you feel? Source two is someone who's very close to you. Source three could be someone who's objective and sees you in a constructive way, but can give you some good advice. I feel that in life, you must always have a minimum of three sources. Triangulate those sources and then arrive at what you call the sweet spot. Because, that way you will never go wrong. And that's what I, as a coach, have always been encouraging people. So, for example, let's say if I were to coach someone, the first thing I would ask them to do is list down their passions and all of that, their strengths, their aptitudes, okay, separately, because you never know
Okay.
how these could be classified. And then, in fact, you might have commonalities between the three. So, for example, if you have a passion, which is also a skill, now it being duplicated is not a problem. In fact, it's a great signal that what is a passion is also a skill. See, some people have a skill, but it may not be a passion, and vice versa. Okay. Then, the second thing what I ask them to do is ask people around you. So, for example, your parents, your immediate circle of friends. It could be teachers. It could be anybody, and basically answer three questions. Okay. Describe, let's say, Abhijit as a person. Describe his strengths. Describe his biggest challenges. And I ask everyone to get answers to these three simple questions. And I can tell you that when you do it from across different walks of life, you will get the pattern. You will get the pattern in your life which tells you that, hey, I'm good at this. I love doing this. And if I were to leverage that, it would make a difference. And to me, it's very, very important that we inculcate this habit of getting these multiple sources of insights.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. And I have seen even you being passionate about different things. First, you were passionate about running. Then you were passionate about tea, and now you are passionate about coffee. So tell us your journey. That how have you been differentiating passion and your profession, and how have you balanced those things? Because I have seen you that when you are passionate about one thing, you dig deep into that thing, and also you were very successfully able to sustain your professional life as well. So how have you balanced these things?
So, a lot of people I have seen, they're always searching for what they call their passion in life. Okay, whether when they're studying or when they're working for many years. I don't have had that problem in my life. I've had the opposite problem. I'll explain this to you. In fact, when I was way back in doing my marketing, postgrad, whatever, I went with a dilemma to my dean, and I had 2-3 different kinds of job offers. One was in advertising. This was in the Times of India. So one option was from the Times of India at that time. And I asked him, what should I do? And he kind of reaffirmed the biggest dilemma in my life, which is that, Abhijit, if whatever you choose, you will do well at it. Now, while it sounded nice, it was most confusing for me because he made me realize that when I choose something, then I find what I can be passionate about. You're understanding the difference? It's not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was a passion, but I find a connect of passion within that subject. Now that's something which
Oh,
I must
yeah,
admit is a strength of mine. Okay, so which means that, let's say if I were to study a topic, okay, like you mentioned coffee, now I would find areas in coffee which excite me, and suddenly I get so excited that I would deep dive into it, learn more, get more perspective and all of that. And it's the same approach that I would follow in running, physical fitness. Let's say if I have some, like I had gout, which is a health issue many years ago,
yeah,
which got me into this whole thing of health journey, figuring out what works for me, all of all those things. So to me,
yeah,
a challenge, or it could be something which I find of interest, is a source of passion for me. But like I said, it may not work for all, because some people just don't like certain areas. Okay,
yeah.
so you know, so I try and address this in the following way. Uh, Now, for example, when I used to do coaching, with people, I used to do these workshops, and in fact, I started this journey. I had started writing a book which became a workshop format and a coaching format. It was called the Superstar Code. The name
Yeah, yeah.
Superstar Code comes from my company, which is Superstar. The name Superstar was formed because I believe that every one of us, there is a superstar within us, and it's a question
Correct.
of unlocking that superstar within. So the Superstar Code was not about one success formula that people should copy and all that. It's about figuring out your own success.
Own form.
So my
Yeah.
journey has really been helping people figure that out. I'll give an example of stereotypes. So my whole battle, if I may call it that, was about fighting stereotypes. I'll explain this. So, okay, Abhijit, you're an analytical kind of person, therefore you should become an engineer. Okay, this seems to be
Oh,
like a logical conclusion.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so there was a now he's a good friend. There was a robotics engineer in one of my workshops. Okay, now robotics, and all of that, and you would think that analytical thinking, all of that would be
Yeah, yeah.
his preferences. But actually, when we did that entire thing, the workshop, etc., we found out that he liked creativity and he liked imagination.
Okay.
So he realized after doing that workshop that the kind of robotics that he liked to do was to help, let's say, kids and human beings, etc., become better versions of themselves, and not
Wow.
get into robotics from the automation point of view and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So he realized that is the kind of robotics that he enjoyed. So you might be an engineer,
Yes.
you might be a creative person, and you might actually have a lot of analytical skills. That doesn't mean that because I have those, I can't do creativity. It's about how I do creativity, how I do engineering. Okay, so my way of applying myself towards that subject. The subject does not need to change. Because I love creativity does not mean I can't do very, engineering, tech kind of jobs,
Yeah.
and vice
Correct.
versa. So it's really about figuring out how you like to approach, let's say, a subject or a topic. So
Yeah.
that's really the journey, and that's why it's important. What I meant by self-education. So the Superstar Code was basically 3 simple questions. Okay, it's about what makes you tick as a person, which means what are your strengths, what are your passions, what are your aptitudes, what are your skills, all of those questions. Okay, put it together, and then the next level of question is what will therefore help you click. And click means how do you use from that data which ones to address the external world. And external world, I mean by your goals, by your challenges and all that. See, because you may have 10, 20 skills, passions and all that. It's like going into a battle. You're not going to use all the weapons, right? Or some weapons you'll use in this battle and some weapons you'll use in another battle. So you have those, imagine you have those 10 different weapons. I don't want to use a grenade launcher in this specific battle. I want to use a knife. So I will choose from my skill set or my passion set or my aptitude set for the battle that I choose. So let's say if my battle was, I want to become a better whatever, right? Then I will figure out by knowing that, yes, these are the things that work for me. Okay, which ones will help me click. So click is about you and the external. Tick is about you. Okay, and the third question is same source, what will help you stick. See, because you might to one
Oh,
battle.
yeah.
Stick is about sustaining. Stick is about, like, for example, for me, my biggest challenge is I get bored very easily. So, like you said, coffee and all these passions. So, I realize that if I'm not learning something new about that topic, I will get bored and I will move on from it. So, my habit is actually to find out one more thing. I have a favorite question which I always ask myself: what blew your mind today? It's a daily thing.
Oh,
So, even
wow.
if it's coffee, there's something new about it that I'm always looking for. So even if it's a 6-year journey, specialty coffee for me,
Oh,
but there's something about it that I keep trying, keep learning, and it keeps blowing my mind, and which is why I can stick with it. That's my challenge. That may not be the challenge for others, you know. So what I'm trying to essentially say is, here, I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay, I just thought I'll scribble it. So I start here. Okay, what makes me
okay.
tick? Once I know, okay, and like I said, from triangulation, this is my self-perception. This is perception of people who around me who know me very well. Okay, and then once I have this, I can then answer which ones of these are best used to click. Yeah, and also to stick. All right, and ultimately, it's also about defining what I want to do in life. Okay, so for example, you said career, etc. So what?
Yeah.
But here is the big thing. What is easy? I want to be an engineer. But most people
Okay.
miss the why. Okay, I'll explain
Yes,
this.
correct.
So let's say, like in my workshop, I would find 3 people having the same goals. We want to lose 10 kilos of weight. Okay, great. Now, when you go deeper into their motivations of why they're having that goal in the first place, you'll find out that person number 1 wants to lose weight because he wants to attract like the opposite sex or someone in his life. Okay.
Oh,
The second person wants to get confidence at work or in school or whatever. Okay. Third person wants to turn his health around. So if you really look at those 3 motivations, you'll realize that the motivations are the real goals. Okay. So it's
yeah.
not the 10 kilos of weight. It's about attracting the right person in my life. It's about confidence in my job or whatever. Third is turning my health around. So that's your real goal. We think we know our goals because either society says that's what your goal should be, or your parents say it, or your friends say it, or whatever. So we need to first take this filter of the why, and with that why, we must test that what, saying that what is the real goal. And that is what I get people to answer. Because once I know that, oh, okay, that's my real goal, what from my code, my superstar code will help me get there and address the challenges and the barriers. And then it's a complete system. And then it's a unique system to me. You understand? So I might want to be an engineer for this reason. I want to be a doctor for that reason. So that's really the approach.
Wow, great. And I've also heard you speaking many times about adding the layers of perspective to mind. So the basic question which arises when anyone listens for the first time, that why should one add the layers of perspective to one mind? For example, if I have thought that I want to become an engineer, although I don't know why. Like you said, I want to lose 10 kg of weight. That is my goal, but the actual reason why, they are not aware of it, or they haven't found that reason. And those kind of people tend to say that why to add more perspective, I'm clear, I want to do this, I want to do that, okay, done, I am good. So what answer will you give to them, that why adding the layers of perspective to mind is very important?
So remember we spoke about triangulating. So one source of data might put you onto one path, but when you triangulate, you get the best sense of where you really want to get. That is really what is perspective. Let me show you this favorite video of mine. I hope you can see it. Okay.
An event seen from one point of view gives one impression. Seen from another point of view, it gives quite a different impression. But it's only when you get the whole picture you can fully understand what's going on.
Wow.
So this is my favorite video, and I've been using this for like every single workshop of mine. Let me switch this off. So I don't know if you got to see the video properly, but in the beginning of the video, you see this man coming out of this car or whatever, and people are wondering who this guy is, like good for nothing kind of guy. Then you see, oh my God, he's going to rob this poor guy, you know, from his whatever, that old man or whatever. And then the third shot, you see that he's running towards the guy, and then you see a top shot, right, of what's going on. The roof is falling down, and this guy is running to save that guy. Correct? So the point is that if I didn't see all those different angles, and those are perspectives, I would never get the true picture. So, which is why I always say triangulate, because minimum, right? Because you may be missing the most important point of view. And it's so easy to get carried away in today's life with just one perspective. Always have multiple perspectives, you know. So, but be armed with that and then have clarity of your conviction. You're getting the point. But it's otherwise, you know, you're just kind of, you're going blind is the point.
Yeah.
That's the reason for perspective.
Yeah, and
I hope I've answered your
question. 100%, sir. And also, next question is for the same, that many when one gets too many perspectives, they tend to confuse themselves. That okay, this person is saying this person is saying that. So now what should I do?
So, which is where the filter of the why is very important, right? See, when you know exactly why you are chasing a certain goal, that is your filter. So you know your true motivation behind that goal. See, that kind of doesn't change so easily. So you know why you want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor because, right? My personal reason. So that becomes your filter, right? Then you will find different ways. So for example, let's say, we talked about those 3 goals. Now, if the goal was turn my health around, I might find that maybe losing weight is not the best way to turn my health around. It could be build muscle. It could be various things. It change my diet, my nutrition. So then I am open to the solutions. But the why is the real goal. Are you getting the point? That I'm flexible to the opportunities and the ways of addressing that goal. As opposed to being stuck to, no, I want to lose 10 kilos. But you might actually become very unhealthy trying to lose those 10 kilos. You're getting the point? So it's very important to be anchored to the right why and use the code which is unique and works for you. That's very critical. And that's what I mean by self-education. Self-education means being aware, being clear about, what are your true strengths, what are your challenges, even the challenges, right? So for example, I told you, boredom is a big challenge for me. And I have to be clear about that. And I'm not going to suddenly, I hope I don't get bored. No, I have to have a plan for addressing boredom.
Correct.
Because if I don't have a conscious plan, it can trip me up.
Correct.
So that's the point.
Wow. And also, I would like to talk about our favorite series. A favorite movie. What the bleep do we know? And where you said that when we can manifest our reality. So can you just please explain more about how one can manifest their own reality?
So okay, actually speaking, if you know your what basis your correct or true why, and if you use all the strengths, okay, and your passions and all that working for you, okay, and see, by the way, that manifesting, I don't know if you know this, but our subconscious brain, okay, works best when it has a very concrete and tangible goal in its mind. Okay, so for example, let's say there are 2 athletes, and you tell athlete 1, go ahead and run as fast as you can. All right. But if you tell the second athlete saying that you have to beat this time record, okay, the subconscious brain likes concrete, tangibility, because then it can work towards something. The person who's saying, oh, run as fast as you can, may actually go slower than the next one. Okay. But when I have something to beat, some benchmark to compete with, then my subconscious brain is very comfortable. That's why we work very, very well with goals as human beings, right? But they should be the right goals. They should be the goals with the right motivation behind them. Otherwise, we'll just be, we'll be reaching that goal. And then even when we reach it, we'll not feel satisfied because that was not really the goal. So A, you need to know your right goal, and B, you need to have one. Because if you just chase, oh, I'm just going to follow my passion and just do whatever, it's never going to kind of give you that tangibility. Okay.
Correct.
So manifesting means both tangibility of what you want as an outcome and the right reason for it. And like I said, using your true strengths, passions, etc. to make that journey happen. When you have all these three things working for you, you will manifest. Simple as that. So what you quoted from was, of course, a quantum physics thing. But the point is that it's simple. That's how we operate as human beings. And if we just tick off these boxes, right, you will manifest. There is no way you will not manifest.
Wow, great. And also many people, I have seen that they just, when they just start about for like after 10th, when people say that I got 90%, now I'm going to choose science, even though their brain is like business brain, they know how to get money out of it, they know how to monetize small things, but still they are like I have got 90%, I have to take science, because that is what they say, that mera respect jayega if I take commerce. And if I got 90% and they take commerce, this many are like it is not respectable if I get 90% and I take commerce. So why this mentality has been sustaining, and how can we as society can break that mentality?
See, like I said, it's a systemic thing, right? There's something called currency, which means what is valued and what is not. And like, I think traditionally when I was studying, science, then you have commerce, and then unfortunately you had arts, right? Arts was like the bottom. Today, people are realizing the value of liberal arts, okay? When you had leaders like Steve Jobs, from Apple, who actually did liberal arts, because he said that true value and impact happens when you get into the humanity of things, which is why he wanted to study humanities, right? Because what is it that is underneath the surface? How do you get that bit? Otherwise, you will just be studying surface. So to answer your question, yes, for a very long time, there was a hierarchy of value. Okay, slowly that is changing. It's changing. Why? Because today we have a startup economy. Not every famous, entrepreneur or whatever has been following that career path. So as we see more and more such successful icons, it will change the benchmark. It's not happened yet, but it's happening. And I think to me that's a great signal and sign, right, of people who would kind of say, hey, I have an option. I can do something different, right? And that's important. So,
and also I've heard that you said that don't follow a person blindly. When, for example, if I have my idol as Stephen Hawking, so I shouldn't follow that blindly. So why? One question arises that if I don't follow one person blindly, should I have my 3-4 idols, or what exactly can help me define my career path if that path has been taken by very few leaders? Like if I'm not going for engineering,
So let's break this question, down into. You said follow certain idols. Now, my favorite question: why are you following certain idol in the first place? Okay, so let's say, for example, if I follow Steve Jobs, why are you following Steve Jobs? Okay, so that why becomes a very important filter. So you might say because he managed to bring humanity and technology together, and that's the reason why, let's say, I followed Steve Jobs. The second bit is, and this is my biggest advice to everybody, always separate the message from the master. See, the master, whoever the person is carrying a message. Separate the two. Again, the why is the way to separate them, right? I follow Abhijit because XXX. But if I follow Abhijit without separating the two, then I'll follow him as a personality and not what he is messaging to. And when he goes wrong, then I feel let down. Are you getting the point? So it's not that, it's that I respect that part of him and he has inspired me. Okay, his action, his message has inspired. But he as a person, I mean, he can do what he wants and that's fine. So unfortunately, we idolize the entire human being or the personality and not separate, like I said, the message, from the master, if I may call it that. And that unfortunately leads to following without, really knowing why you follow.
Yeah.
So why is very important right in the beginning. And then to be able to separate, okay, great,
Yeah. And I would like to say that it is like being a fan and idolizing someone. If you are a fan, then you just follow the whole personality. It's like he is famous.
But
I
that's
like
what I'm saying you might be into football and you like Messi, but then there could be a lot of flaws of Messi. But if you then separate what about Messi makes him so great, right? Then you focus on those things. Okay.
Correct.
Virat Kohli, whatever. What is it that what is it that makes him so fantastic as a sports person, etc., etc. So you focus on that.
Correct.
But then when you unfortunately follow the person, then if he does something wrong, you'll suddenly, oh my god, how could he do that? That's not the point.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm trying to say. And I know it's not easy to do that because we tend to relate to personalities very easily. But it's like, you love that part of Amitabh Bachchan for, whatever it is. But then if he does something wrong, suddenly you feel disillusioned.
Yes.
So it's important
and I
to
think
focus on the why you like that person or why you admire him or why you get inspired by him. Because that way, that will become your anchor,
Correct, 100%. And maybe this is the reason, I think, the main reason for hatred on social media. Like many fan bases fight into together, even though the personalities which they follow, they are not fighting in real life. The fan bases like Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, fan bases of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are fighting with each other, but when in reality they both don't have any grudge by themselves. Because they are like Virat Kohli, he is the number one, and Rohit Sharma fan says that he is the number one. That's why they fight together. They are just fans. They are not idealizing him as his on basis of his qualities. That why he's at this level.
I think what you're getting into right now is when there's a herd following of something, and then you basically just follow that, And so I'd rather not get too deep into this one. But my point is, then you're not thinking for yourself as an individual, but you're just following something. It's fine, but that to me is the differentiator, So and see, social media is only amplifying it all. This is always there, right? It just brings it all into the open and it makes it interactive, which is why it becomes that much more intense, right? But so I think again, the lesson for the individual is, why am I getting so angry, or why am I feeling this exactly? Okay, and that's why I say that when you separate the message from the master, somewhere it'll help ground you and not unnecessarily affect you, and hopefully, at least then you're anchored to what matters to you, actually, or should matter to you, rather than just getting carried away by something which has granularity.
Yeah, correct, 100%.
So it's like this. If I were to take another analogy, it's like someone in your life. Okay, the person could be a wife, your girlfriend, or whatever. Now, there are certain qualities in that person that you really love, and there are certain qualities you don't like. And somewhere it's important to separate them, because otherwise what happens is that if you just put it in one mass, And if that person does one wrong thing, boom, it becomes personal.
Yeah.
But when you realize that, hey,
Correct.
this is that person's challenge, and that's fine, versus these are his strengths and whatever. So I know it's not easy, but it's important in, as we grow more and more in life, as we interact with more people and our professional relationships increase, it's important to separate these things, because otherwise you get carried away by, let's call it, an emotional bundling of a person rather than separating the qualities.
Correct. So, what would be your advice to an 18-year-old who is like, if he's seeing this podcast, then what would be your advice of how he can, if he is not clear about his career, then how he can clarify his thoughts and process them, and if one has specified then and he is in this dilemma of how to start or what motivates them or how to motivate themselves to start.
This is my recommendation.
Okay.
Self-education. So see, the thing is, the words passion again are very loosely used. Okay. Ambition, purpose, all these things are very loosely used. You need to put structure to them, and that process of self-education is putting structure to it. When you put structure to it, you, again, like I said, separate the message from whatever it is. And then you realize, okay, this is why I want to do this. Okay, this is what I love doing, and this is what I'm good at doing. Okay, so, and when I see more and more commonalities between my strengths, that is skills, and my passions and what I want to do, okay, then you will really kind of make it work for you. So can you see this? So you may have heard of Ikigai, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ikigai is just the Japanese word for purpose. But so as you can see, I always believe in triangulating. So they have 4 instead of 3. Venn diagrams are my favorite. Why? Because I'll read out the questions. Yeah. What do you love is one circle. Okay. Then what you're good at. Remember we said skills.
Yes.
Okay. Then what the world needs. Now this is what I meant by relevance to the external. Now I might be good at something. I might love doing something, but it may not be relevant to the world. So to me, these 3 actually are the most important things. And the 4th one to add for someone, like you said, 18-year-old, what you can be paid for, which means that there is value for it. Okay. So there's relevance to world. There is monetizable. Okay. It's monetizable. Okay. What do you love? So to me, this is a very important starting point. I think this is the most important pillar of self-education for anybody in today's time. And when I know this, and when I add the what and the why behind the what, then my journey starts getting more and more clear. Okay, and it's again not cast in stone. It's a starting process of clarity. Okay, because what, let's say, I want to do today might change tomorrow. So things change, the world changes. I mean, maybe 5 months back, it was a pre-COVID world. But suddenly things have changed, and then suddenly, you might say that, no, that's why I want to do this. That's fine. So it should be agile, flexible, but at the same time focused. Okay. So fast, focused, flexible. Yeah. That's really the, I think, mantra for today.
100%.
So that's my answer to you for anyone starting off any journey.
Very 100%. And what would be your 3 book recommendation for an 18-year-old?
Wow. Well, read this. Look, books is a very, 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 very passionate thing for me, but it's not about the 3 books. It's for me, it's about, in that context, at that time, what book matters. Okay. So I feel there is something like this. I think it's very important that we get self-educated in this. Okay. And it's not too early. You might say that, oh, this is something that actually should happen only for a CEO. No. If you start educating yourself right now and you start building yourself towards these 4 circles, I think, to me, you can't get anything more invaluable than this. Okay. there was, I'm there's a famous educator from the UK, Sir Ken. Oops. So he also talks about, this whole thing about finding your why and all of that. And I will ping you the name. I can't recollect
Sure.
it right now. But so he's on TED Talks and all, a very famous personality. But essentially, it's not about saying. He says the question to ask a person is not, are you intelligent? He says the question to ask is, how are you intelligent? Which means that for some person, his intelligence or her intelligence comes from maybe creativity or whatever it is. Another person's intelligence comes from being very organized and being able to structure thoughts. Somebody else's intelligence or whatever comes from some other thing. So it's about how are you intelligent, not are you intelligent. The moment you ask a question, are you intelligent, you are doing a disservice to the person. But if you start adding that thing of how are you intelligent, then you figure out your superstar code. You figure out what it is that actually makes you tick. And I think that to me is the missing dimension in today's self-education.
Great.
Yeah.
And how do you think that an 18-year-old should pursue this COVID-19 pandemic? Because for me, if I say personally that before COVID-19, I was like fed up with exams. Fortunately, CBSE cancelled my exam, luckily. And then I was like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. I was like, I was not ambition about doing something, but I was like, okay, I'll do something. And fortunately, I had that goal, which came from your podcast and a year earlier. And I was like, okay, I'll do something in that field. But then when this lockdown happened, I was like, my education won't stop because I had my group and I was learning here and there. But I was like, what? I was feeling something that what I should do, because I had my YouTube channel from past 2 years, which I haven't done anything about it. Then I was like, let me start making videos, and then I was like, now I should videos are okay, but how I should get the personalities and their mindset to give to the people, because I think that was lacking for me, and as well as that was lacking for people whom I was around. I was around with people who were like, okay, this, okay, that, but they were not like ambition, I'll do something, or they are not, what we can say, creative about their career. But I was fortunate enough that I started, and I am fortunate enough that people like you are accepting my invitation and coming on my podcast. So, what would be your three advice that how one should pursue their this lockdown period?
See, you've answered it yourself. Okay. The fact that, okay, you have your board and whatever, that's one part of your education. But you've also revealed that your education is actually not just that. Your education is connecting with podcasts, listening to podcasts, getting people to come on to your podcasts and sharing perspectives, with you. And you also
Yes.
said that people around you also are getting kind of affected by that.
Yes.
So, I think to me, the lockdown or this whole COVID effect or whatever you want to call it has made people realize that education is not a unidimensional thing.
Yes.
And because it became on one platform, like suddenly everybody is onto e-education, for example,
Yeah.
then, going to school physically was the only education. And what I saw on TED and all that was like, extracurricular. But I think what has happened is it's become a level playing field now. I can listen to a TEDx talk. I can, I can sign up on a Coursera course. I can connect on a podcast like this, and I can do my studies. And I think to me, this multi-dimensional education is probably the biggest thing that has happened for people like you. And I think that that would go a long way, because then you wouldn't discount this as add-ons, but it's literally a holistic education that you're probably embarking on. And I think to me, that's a fantastic inflection point, because let's say things go back to normal or whatever it is, in whichever way, but you will still value all these experiences that you put on, right? That you added on to your,
100%.
in your life. So that's what I mean. So I think I think people like you would now naturally look at a multi-source of education in life.
Correct.
I don't know. I hope I have answered your question, but
yeah.
and I think more and more you do that, and I think, like you said, it's not just about courses. It's also about reaching out to people. It's about connecting with people and collecting those, like you said, perspective, right? Perspective is education.
Yes, 100%. So my last question, that is, what are your 3 advices for me? Because you know my life goal as well, and you know that I'm doing this YouTube and podcast thing. So what would be your 3 advice for me?
So I think number 1, bring clarity, process and structure to your purpose, passion, okay, and what I would call your code. And I think to me that's important, so that no matter what you do, you know why exactly you're doing it, and then you have a way of reaching there. Okay, that's the superstar code. The second bit is this education insight that you gave me. I think you should only take it to the next level. Now you should 10x it. And it's linked to that. But the third thing is, I think there are a lot of people like you, and I really applaud you for doing what you're doing. And that's the only reason why I honestly came onto this, is because you're open to perspective. You want to learn, and you want to learn in not the conventional way, and you want to absorb things. And I think that to me is something that needs to spread with a lot more people your age who are going through education, etc., etc. And I think that people like you can really play a role in that, right? So it's not about only people with experience, but it's about people who take the initiative. And I think initiative is far more important than experience, because when you take the initiative, it has energy, it brings people along, and as part of that journey, it benefits people. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
100%.
that would be my advice to you, as per your question. I hope I have been able to satisfy your question.
100%. You have satisfied all my questions. Okay. So, how did you like this podcast, and what improvements should I do in this?
No, so again I'm going back to what I just said to you right now. I think you must reach out to far more people. Okay, and so yes, I get the fact that you're getting experienced people, but maybe you should get someone like you also. See, I think to me there should be a platform of more people like you expressing themselves. See, because there are 2 parts to this. One is you understanding the, let's call it, experience set, but it's also the experience set understanding people like you. See, there is a gap. There is a gap.
Yeah.
Call it generational, call it understanding, call it cultural, whatever it is. My point is that communication only happens when people understand each other, ultimately, where you're coming from.
Correct.
So I think people need to understand where you're coming from. People need to understand people like you, where you're coming from. So more and more, let's call it the youth, right?
Yeah.
Which unfortunately repositions me. But what I'm trying to say is that if people, and I'm talking about CEOs and senior people and all of that, they get to know more about you and people like you. I think it will create a lot more empathy. So I really do believe that there are people. These are the kind of things that you can definitely help with.
Sure, 100%. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast, and thank you so much for making this more valuable and value-adding podcast till now. And
I hope so.
I'm hoping that we'll do more such podcasts in future.
Sure, you give me a topic and I'll always be there.
Sure.
And anyway,
I
must applaud you for this effort, and I really would like to see someone like you spreading that energy, that initiative, and that openness. That openness to learn is a very important quality. So I'll close on this quote from, since you mentioned that quantum physics documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know? But there's a quantum physicist called Fred Alan Wolf. I normally use his quote in all my workshops. He says the trick to life, okay, the key and the trick to life is in the mystery, not in the know. Okay, mystery.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means that when your brain is curious and is figuring out what could happen, versus when we know. When we know, our minds are shut, unfortunately, because I know.
Yeah. Correct.
So the possibility or the possibilities end. So I really acknowledge, encourage anyone who's in the mystery mode versus in the know mode. Because trust me, there are too many people who think they know. But it's the beauty in life is not about knowing. It's about discovering. It's about exploring.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that to me is important, and that to me needs to spread.
Yes.
So full marks to you. Since any case you
Thank you
managed the
so
CBSE part, but on this front, yeah, and full on power and energy to you guys.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, sir.
What am I
Bye-bye.
supposed to do, by the way, to end this? I'm sorry. Just shut the
You
window.
just need that press that cross in the center.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
See you guys, and thanks everyone who's tuned in, and have a good Sunday. Bye.
Thank you, sir.